All right, class. So today we are going to do a mid skin fade, and we're just going to clean up the top a little bit. So you want to always start by combing out the entire head before doing any cutting. This will allow you to find out if your client forgets to tell you, it'll allow you to find out if he has any bumps or anything in his head that you should be aware of before cutting. And also, you never want to cut the hair when it's not combed out, because you can achieve a better fade and an overall better cut and experience when combing out the hair first. So we got our pick everything out. All right, and now we got our comb. Make sure anywhere that you are going to cut is completely combed out. These are all the clippers we are going to be using today. Got our Andes Masters, our Andes Slimline Pro Trimmer, our Babeless Pro Trimmer, and our Wall Senior Cordless. All right, when starting our mid-skin fade, we're going to take our Andes Slimline Pro Trimmer, and we're going to start at the bottom corner of our lineup, and we're going to make a straight line all the way around the head. Make sure not to make a hard push onto the skin when making your first line, because you do not want to create a hard line in there. It's going to be hard to fade out later. All right, and when we're going to begin our fade, we want to make sure to comb the hair out one more time before we start to cut. And before we do any fading at all, we want to remove some of the weight. That will help you fade the hair without having to do much work towards the end. So we got our number 2 guard on our clipper all the way closed. We're just coming up in a scooping motion, not removing a whole lot, but just enough to see the skin a little bit more clear. And when you're dealing with curly hair, you want to make sure to always comb down after you cut, because the hair starts to curl up and it can be a lot harder to get a consistent clean fade when not combing down the hair first, and same thing with your lineup. All right, after removing the weight, we're gonna take our Andes Masters clippers. We're gonna do no guard, open it up about halfway, go up about a 1/4 inch, and we are going to do a scooping motion so that we do not create a second hard line. So it may not look like it, but I am coming up in a scooping motion. Right when I get to the second line, I come up and I come out. So that way I don't create a hard line to fade when I start moving up. And when you're creating your second line or any line, it's okay to use the whole blade. But when you're trying to take out weight or remove a line and get a nice consistent blend, it's always good to use only the corner of the clipper. The corner of the clipper is better for removing weight and getting a nice consistent blend, as for the whole blade is better for removing length. All right, once we have our second line created, we're going to switch to our brush. With our brush, it allows us to see the line a lot clearer when dealing with curly hair and dealing with skin fades. So you want to go ahead and close the clipper all the way down to a 0 using the corner of the clipper only. We're going to just lightly tap that first line we created until we start to see it disappear. As you can see, I'm only using the corner of the blade. That is thinning the hair and allowing it to blend into the skin. You want to make sure you're going against the grain when doing this. And then once you see the line start to fade, but it won't fade all the way out, we're going to switch to our trimmer, which will allow us to fade out the rest of the line into the skin. Using the corner only, take your trimmer and just lightly tap at that line. And you can see the line start to fade away now. And that looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next step. We're going to take our 0 guard on our clipper all the way closed, and using the whole blade, we're going to go up another 1/4 inch in a scooping motion. And when the hair goes up like that, you want to make sure to comb it straight down, so that way you're going against the grain. As you can see, because we went in a scooping motion on our second line, the line is basically already faded. We just have this slight dark line right here that we are going to use the corner of our clipper with to go ahead and knock that out. All right, so now no guard, clipper all the way open. That's a 1/2, and we're going to use the corner of it and just lightly go against the grain on that little dark line that we see that we need to fade out. You want the clipper to do most of the work. You never want to push too hard. You want the haircut to be comfortable for your client. So just make sure that you are always scooping out when doing your next line, because it's going to minimize the work you have to do to fade. And now we're going to close our lever just a little bit, using the corner only. Just lightly go into any areas we might see a little bit dark. All right, as you can see, it looks like a clean fade right there. And now we're going to go to our next line, and we're going to debulk some of this weight right up here. All right, when freehanding, it's always best to look directly at where the hair is sticking out instead of right in front of it, to where you can't see how far out it's coming. And you have your clipper all the way closed. And we are going to, again, we're going to do another scooping motion. So it's going to start at the bottom, close to the scalp, but you can see the blade is sticking out. And we're going to go up and out. That way we can keep it a little bit wider at the top, unless your client says they would like it to be a little more rounded. We're always going to go in a scooping motion. Start at the bottom, go straight up and out, straight up and out. Right, and you can kind of see right there how smooth that looks, and it's coming a little bit out at the top there. And if we need to, we can trim that up with our shears a little bit later. But for now, that looks good. We'll come back around here and we can see that there's still a little bit of a dark line over here. So we're gonna comb the hair down. We're going to take our number 1 guard, open it halfway, and go with the grain, down with the grain to smooth it out. And you can see the hair is laying down nice and smooth. We're not taking the fade too high. We are just removing some weight. Then we're going to close our lever all the way. Same number 1 guard. Do it one more time. Right. And now you can see there's just a slight dark line in there. And now you can see there's a slight dark line in there. So we're going to go ahead and use the corner only of our clipper and just attack that dark line very lightly. Take our brush, make sure we can see the line clearly. Line looks good. We're just going to take a little bit more weight out right here. And if you have to start going too high to remove some of the weight, then another great tool to use is our thinning shears. You take your thinning shears and you go to where it's dark at, so that way you don't take the fade too far in towards the top. You're gonna go ahead and take your thinning shears, and anywhere that you see it's dark and curly at, just go ahead and lightly thin that out a little bit. And that way you're not removing any more length of the hair, and you're literally just trying to blend in those dark areas to the scalp and with the rest of the fade, while still keeping it nice and dark and blended towards the top. All right, one last brush to make sure everything is nice and blended before we move on to our other side. And as you can see, everything looks very nice and blended. No line at the bottom. It's not too heavy at the top. And if we need to do any more detail work, we'll do it at the end. Follow the natural line. And then it's always good to go back against the grain to get it just a little bit cleaner. And then if you see any baby hairs sticking out, it's okay to trim those. It'll help the lineup last a little bit longer and stay nice and sharp. All right, and this is the final result. You guys can see this is with no product, no enhancements, all natural, clean clean fade. All natural, good to go. And then all the little details at the end will kind of make it look a lot cleaner, but this is without any straight razor, without any other enhancements or anything. You guys can see consistency, how it looks.